Hey, guys! It's push to shout time. Here we are, regular time, 9 o'clock Thursday, coming at you, broadcasting live over the tube, etc. Skippy.
9/8 Central.
Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, this is not related to video games, but
Oh boy,
when
right
I
off the
didn't
bat.
know what Central Time was, I thought there were like lucky people somewhere else in the world that got to see everything earlier.
Yeah,
Like actually earlier time wise, and I was jealous. I was like 5. I was jealous that they got to watch the Nickelodeon stuff earlier than
I
did.
remember how hard it was for me to figure out how time zones worked, and it was because of television always telling me 9/8 Central, and I didn't understand. Good times. Us 90 kids, right? 90s.
Yeah,
90s
90 kids.
90
I
kids.
want to have that many. Super hot.
Super hot.
So you've been playing Super Hot.
I've been playing super hot. It came out today.
Yeah. So you've probably got more to say. I'll just say the little I have first.
Have you played any of it?
I played the demo ages ago.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago maybe, and it was really cool. It was really short though, and I remember being excited for the Kickstarter, and now it's out. So Skippy, talk about it. What's up?
Super hot. I don't know what I really expected. I didn't play the demo, but I saw it, and I had no idea the game was coming out anytime soon. I didn't even really know it was going to be much. Like, I didn't know they were really planning on making it. I didn't hear anything past seeing a video of someone playing the demo at some point. And so I got the game because I thought it looked really cool and started playing it, and it is way cooler than I thought it was. It is way more interesting. There's a lot going on in that game.
Yeah.
It's really neat. Really, really neat.
How much have you played? How much?
I want to say like I'm at like the last level.
Really?
Probably.
Okay. So is it pretty short?
It's very short. I think that I'm not sure about this, but I think that there might be some like challenges outside of the main campaign
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
what I heard from from my boy.
But it's
Super
a
Bunny
short
Hop.
game. It's a short game. I would compare it to. I would compare it like, okay, so I can't stop thinking about Hotline Miami, and it's not even really that similar of a game.
Super Bunny Hop made the exact same comparison.
Yeah, someone in my chat, I was streaming it, and someone in my chat said that I'd stole that opinion from Super Bunny Hop, but I don't really.
It seems like a
watch
pretty
his stuff, so.
It's a pretty obvious comparison to make because it's
Yeah.
like these bursts of
Yeah.
action.
It's like clear a room and throw your weapon at people when you're out of ammo and shit like that. So it's kind of got that Hotline Miami I'd say on like a shallow level. You could easily compare it to Hotline Miami, but
It's not like a
plays
Hotline
differently,
Miami
obviously.
game
Yeah.
or like a spiritual successor. or
Because if
anything.
you're
It's really
unfamiliar
different.
with it, the primary concept is that when you're standing still, time moves at an extremely slow pace, like bullets almost hang in the air, and then and when you move, time speeds up again, like to normal speed, and so you spawn into a room or whatever, and enemies start coming out of doorways and stuff and shooting at you, and you have to dodge the bullets and shoot back at them and throw your weapon at them and punch them and do whatever you need to do to kill them, and then the level ends and it goes super hot, and
Yeah,
and then
that's
it
exactly what it
replays-
did in the demo.
yeah, and it replays the level. What it didn't do in the demo is replays
That
the level at normal
looks
speed,
really
which is
cool.
cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's like every time it looks like you're watching like a highlight reel from a CS:GO tournament or something like that, because like it's moving really fast and you're like dodging behind walls and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and so I don't want to like spoil anything, and I'm kind of trying to decide on how much I should talk about how much more there is to this game than the demo. Like story-wise,
I am going
I
to
guess you
play
would
it.
say?
I'm
Yeah,
going to play it.
and you should, and everyone should. I honestly think this is a really cool game, and I haven't completed it yet, but it just seems really cool. It's expensive. I think it's too expensive.
How
but
much is it?
It's like 20. It's on sale, and I think it was like $22 or something. I think it's probably $25 base price, which it seems way too short for that, but it's still really cool. But yeah, it's God. Okay, this isn't a spoiler because you literally launch the game and this happens. So I'll go ahead and say it. The menu of the game, I guess, is like a CRT, old style, late 80s, early 90s computer screen. And you've got like a file directory, and you can go through the file directory, and there's like game demos and stuff that look like that old like ASCII kind of style of when people were kind of working around like really really serious limitations in computer, and then like just goofy shit like, oh, here's a random carpet generator, and it generates like a pattern on the screen that looks like a carpet or whatever. It's totally full of stupid shit like that, which is just fun.
That's nice.
And then the game is just like an executable, and there's little segments where like you'll chat with some guy who I guess is your friend who like introduced you to the game and talk about the game with him. But like so you just fake type on your keyboard and it fills in what you say.
Yeah, that's what you do.
And
cool.
Yeah, and
I'm glad it's not advancing through dialogue.
No, I mean it's just it's very silly. But so the plot, it's like there's not that much of a plot, or at least so far. It seems like very bare bones, I guess you would say. Although there's a complexity to it, there's a depth to it that's really surprising. But
and that I wouldn't have expected.
No, it is very unexpected. The direction this game goes in is really unexpected. It's really interesting. It's got kind of a like Tron kind of theme to it, of like you're jacking into this game and becoming. It's hard to distinguish the game from reality, I guess, would be kind of a. It's that kind of thing, like that kind of 80s and 90s vision of the future of computers, where we're getting consumed by them and all that stuff. It goes places. It's really cool and kind of funny, but also creepy at the same time. Like lighthearted and dark, and just it's cool. It's a really 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 cool game, and I hope I'm not overselling it because it's very simple, but I'm blown away. I didn't know that the game would go the places it went and do the things it's doing. It's the visual effects that they pull off too, with like jacking into the game and back out and stuff, is just really 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 cool. It's a package. It's not at all like the demo, which was just like this really bare bones like concept kind of thing. It is a thing now. It is a full package, and I don't want to say any more because I want people to play it, but we'll talk spoilers after you've played it. But it's just really really cool. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play it. And if you guys aren't sure, there's a demo for free that you can play.
And I wouldn't say, like, honestly, so the gameplay is really, I haven't even talked about the gameplay. The gameplay is really cool and fun and satisfying. That's like the main, if I had to choose one word to describe like what I like about the game, it would be satisfying, because there's something about, you'll be like attacked by multiple enemies at the same time, and they'll have different kinds of weapons and stuff. And like, say you ran out of ammo in your pistol and you can throw it at someone, and if you throw it like as they're shooting, they might shoot it in midair and it shatters, and so then you don't get hit by that bullet. And then you turn and you punch the guy right next to you who's pointing a shotgun at you, and they stagger backwards and let go of the shotgun, and you grab the shotgun out of the air and then shoot the other guy with it. It's just shit like that is happening constantly, and it is the coolest thing ever. Hitting someone in the face with a pistol and grabbing their gun out of the air and shooting them with it is it doesn't get old. It's the best thing ever. And something I was saying on my stream is every game should have the ability to throw your gun. You should always be able to throw your shit at your
enemy, because it's useful.
It's always fun and it's useful. And there's never, I can't think of a game where that wouldn't objectively improve it.
That was really my favorite way to kill people in Hotline Miami. Like the gun throw or throwing anything. It's just
really so satisfying, especially when you pull it off like on a moment's notice, like you're using a shotgun and you run out of ammo and you just have to throw it at the dude. That is such a great moment. And and yeah, it's full of that. Obviously, it is totally cool. I can't sing its praises enough. Obviously, ugh,
Okay, super hot.
super hot, super hot, super
On
hot.
my end, uh, the only game I've been playing is Earthbound. I haven't had a lot of time, but I want to. I don't want to spoil what the moment is, but I got to a moment in Earthbound this week. It's not like a crazy event or an amazing song or a visual or a. It was one line of text that's. I don't know. It elevated the game to something even though I'd been loving it, I didn't know it was going to be this good. Like
Okay.
it's special. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much anymore because now I'm getting like totally caught up in it, where it's like I don't know. Anyway, I started watching Scrubs.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why actually, but I heard that Scrubs gets bad, but I like it right now.
I
So
never liked Scrubs.
I'm kind of waiting to see where I stop liking it. Because
I
this is the kind of thing that I put on in the background while I'm doing work. So I can like kind of glance over and I can get the jokes and you know, it's
yeah
it's not a show that I can just sit there and watch
yeah
cuz but
yeah.
I'll just put it on until it starts to annoy me.
I don't know what it is about that show, but I've always had like I don't hate it. I think it's funny. Um, the people in it are decent actors and everything, but there's something about that show that just kind of makes me it puts me off of it, and I don't really know exactly what it is. I know one thing that I don't like about it is I don't mind anything that mixes like comedy and drama and stuff. Like Louis is obviously one of the things that we like the most that does that
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Scrubs does that, and I feel like it's cringy instead of well done. Like the drama part of it, like they'll go from like really goofy comedy, goofy comedy, goofy comedy, and then like oh
Oh
something
yeah,
serious happened, and that probably ramps that up in the later seasons because it's like oh now we have all these characters that we have to do
yeah,
things
that's
with.
what I heard that at some point it becomes kind of a parody of itself.
Yeah, yeah,
What I liked at the beginning was what most people say they like about it, which is it balances the quick, witty cynicism with some genuine heart sometimes. But
yeah,
then you start to realize that every episode has that one part where the facade breaks down and they expose themselves, and so
yeah.
I'm enjoying it still. I'm not saying it's bad really, but I can tell it's gonna eventually peter out. So
From
that's
what the
that.
chat is saying, like maybe get through season one and then
Oh,
save
I'm in
yourself from
season
watching its
3.
decline. Oh, okay,
Season 2 was fine. It was
okay.
as good as season 1. I don't think it was any better or worse. Okay,
Well,
so that's Scrubs. I don't really care that much about Scrubs.
yeah.
Now this I'm excited. World of Tomorrow. It's a short film that's on Netflix, a short animation film by Don Hertzfeldt, the guy who made Rejected, which was this Academy Award nominated short thing where he draws like these rejected commercials, but there's more to it than that, obviously, and that it's very impressive animation wise and funny. Then he made a feature film called It's Such a Beautiful Day, which is really legitimately great movie. It managed to be gravely serious, just downright depressing, maybe. But it's really a treat. It's an hour long, just a flat hour. It's pretty easy to watch, not emotionally, but time wise.
Yeah.
So I recommend that movie. Anyway, his new film is just 15 minutes long, and it's called World of Tomorrow. And I don't want to talk too much about it because for a film that short, obviously it's dense and you don't want to give much stuff away. But it's a very unique science fiction story that is, I don't know. There's no sci-fi like it. It's very personal.
Yeah.
and I don't even want to say who the character is because that'll give it away. Just watch it. It's
All
15
right.
minutes long. It's 15 minutes long. Watch it. It's really good. I would like to talk about that.
I've got a short thing that I would recommend to anyone. Maybe I don't know. I'm sorry in advance for this. I I found there's a apparently this was pretty popular actually, and it flew under my radar completely. Max Landis, the
Yeah.
obnoxious filmmaker who says
American
dumb things
Ultra.
on Twitter. Yeah. I'd never really seen any of his stuff, so I don't know how he is as a director. I don't
I have
think
no
I've seen any
idea.
of his
I
stuff.
am only aware of his existence through Red Letter Media.
Exactly, through
That's
the stupid
it.
things he says on the internet. But he has a YouTube channel, I guess, and he makes like some short videos and stuff. And turns out he's a wrestling fan, and he made a video about like an example of why he likes wrestling, I guess. And what he does is he comedically goes through the last like or the entire career of Triple H in the WWE, and he lays out Triple H as a character and as a storyline and stuff, and it's very funny. It's got some like really really clever funny editing and stuff. It starts out like I kind of felt like it was obnoxious at the beginning, but then like you see what he's doing with it, and you go, oh, okay, this isn't as annoying as I thought. Like it's actually genuinely funny. But and then he gets like he there's like a minute at the end where he gets all like emotional and like, oh, this is why it's so great and everything. And it was kind of stupid, but as a whole, it's enjoyable, and I would recommend it. It's called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, because the whole concept starts out with him saying like, oh, wrestling fans always get asked, it's not real, right, and that kind of thing, and so he kind of gives an example of like, yeah, no, it's not real, and that's why it's so great, and so it's cool, and I think for someone who isn't in wrestling, it would give you like a really good perspective on like
what kind
part
of
of what's so
video?
enjoyable. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just like
Is it like a video essay or what?
no.
Does
I
it talk
haven't
about the
watched. I
camera?
haven't watched very much of Drunk History, but I imagine it's very much like
I
Drunk
haven't
History.
seen any Drunk History.
Yeah, I that might be a completely terrible comparison because I've seen like one episode and I don't remember it very well, but it's him narrating this. He's just going through the history of Triple H, and it's reenactments on screen. But like I say, reenactments. It's like goofy. All the guys are girls and all the girls are guys for some reason, just for whatever reason, and it's actors reenacting the moments, and just really goofy stuff, very low budget kind of thing, but it's funny. It's I liked it. It was kind of just really goofy, not very serious, but yeah, Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. It's pretty cool. I would recommend it to anyone. I just think it's like 20 minutes long, so it's not gonna waste your time or anything. And what else did I see? I saw something else, and I didn't have time to write anything down because I was playing Super Hot and I couldn't stop playing. Maybe I'll think of it as we go on. But I played a fucking game and I can't remember. I don't think it was a new game though, so I probably don't have much to say about it anyway. All right. Do you want to go ahead and go to news, or do you have more to talk about from your own?
That's about it. I mean, unless, yeah, the rest would just be trivial shit. So honestly,
Yeah,
who cares?
hold on. I'm trying to figure out.
I will say I haven't slept. So
Since when?
like a day ago.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm running on fumes.
Hitman Beta. Fuck. How did I forget that?
Oh,
Yeah.
is that
I
out?
played that. Yeah. So if you pre-order, so Hitman, the way they're doing it is like some kind of weird episodic kind of thing. Like they're releasing the game in like 4 parts or more than that. I don't know.
I heard a lot of people are upset about that. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't care about that. I like it. I like it because what it lets you do is you can either pre-order the game for $60 or pre-order the first portion of the game for $15. And $15 seems like a pretty reasonable price because you get the beta, which is 2 small tutorial kind of levels, and then you'll get the first big mission when it comes out.
Wait,
Um,
did we? I think I
We
talked
talked about
about
it.
this
we
last
talked
week
about
with you.
yeah, we talked about the beta, but I hadn't played it.
Oh, okay.
So I
So now
played it.
you have played it.
I pre-ordered
Alright,
the $15 thing just
got
to
it.
see what the beta was like, and
That's right. Okay, last week it was
yeah.
like press had been playing it. Okay.
Yeah,
So what did you think?
I like it. I'm not sure. So my experience with Hitman in the past has always been like, I enjoy playing the game, but there's something. I've never been like a huge Hitman fan. I've appreciated the games and I've had fun. Like I feel like the most fun you can have with Hitman is playing it with friends and stuff, and just kind of
Playing with
doing
friends.
yeah, it's weird. It's a single player game, but like it's one of those games.
like
it's one of those single
next to
player
you?
games.
Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
one of those single player games where like you want your bud next to you and you're laughing about what's happening and that kind of thing.
How often do you play a PC game with a bud next to
And, well,
you?
exactly. I wasn't. I streamed it, so that helps because like
I guess
you're
they're kinda
interacting in
like
chat and
buds.
stuff. But
They're
yeah,
like pathetic buds.
yeah. but yeah, playing that game alone, I struggle to get the same enjoyment that I got out of Blood Money playing that with a couple of my friends the way that we played it originally. And maybe it's also growing up and not having the whimsical imagination of a child. I wasn't a child. How old was I? I don't know. I was pretty young. But
Whimsical imagination.
yeah, because it's just that game relies on you kind of. I wouldn't say it's totally a make your own fun kind of game, but it's kind of that way.
Sandboxy.
Yeah,
call it
kind of. It's kind of like,
sandboxy.
all right, choose how you're going to do this mission. It's not a very challenging game. It's just a game, and you play it. And I don't know. I just felt a little bit empty playing it in the beta. I enjoyed it.
Do you think
And
that's a result of it being a tutorial thing, or
I think that's part of it because I think the tutorial levels are like really stripped down. And the first time you play through the tutorial, it kind of guides you. Like it says, all right, disguise yourself as this person to get onto the ship. And that is not a fun way to play Hitman because it's literally just following the instructions instead of kind of finding
does it
out what
let
it
you
wants you to
ignore
do.
it?
Not in the tutorial. And I know it will in the main game, like obviously. But
So for the beta, you just have to do what you're told.
well, you don't have to do what you're told, but it tells you no matter what, as far as I can tell. I don't think there was like a
okay.
difficulty setting. But yeah, it says like grab this
I
disguise,
thought, okay.
but you can
The way
yeah,
you were describing it, it kind of sounded like it freezes the screen and then
no,
you
no,
have
no,
to do
no.
this.
It doesn't do that, but it pops up a little thing that says here's what you need to do. You can do something else. You can complete the mission a completely other way, but it's hard not to do what it tells you to do, like right there on the screen. I don't know. It's a weird. I don't know how else you tutorialize Hitman. That's probably the best way to do it, but it's just kind of weird for someone who knows what to do with a Hitman game to have that kind of tutorializing going on. But yeah, there's just something a little bit. Like I hope the main game is way more, not only like bigger in scale, but just like has more stuff in it. There's each tutorial level has a few different ways that you can kill the person, but none of it feels. It feels especially easy. I think that's part of the problem. Is like I don't want like Hitman is not supposed to be the most challenging game in the world or anything, but I want to feel accomplished by figuring out a way to get through it. But instead, I just kind of feel like, oh, here's the obvious way to do this, and here's the obvious way to do this, or let's try this and see if this is how it works. And oh, yep, it does. Okay.
Okay, so how does it feel though to play?
As far as like gameplay,
Yeah.
it feels like Blood Money. It's very, very similar to Blood Money.
Okay.
There's a few differences I think where like they might have added I think like a slow down time mechanic if you pull out your weapon and people notice you, or
Reflex
something
mode.
like that. Yeah, reflex mode basically. But that doesn't really that's not a big deal to me because again, Hitman's not about being hard necessarily. And they also have a list of challenges that you can complete. And at least in the beta, they're all unlocked. And so you can just go to the list of challenges. And basically what they do is they tell you, here's the things you can do to complete the mission, which completely ruins any kind of discovery. That's kind of the satisfying part of Hitman, of like going through and figuring out what to do and seeing if something works. Instead, it just tells you flat out, like, kill this person by hitting them over the head with a hammer, or that's not a very creative one, but there's so like the most satisfying one, and the one that I spoke about last week, was you hack the airline jet that the guy is testing out so that the ejector seat actually works, and so he shoots up through the roof of the warehouse, and it's a very cool, funny moment. But if you look at the challenge, it tells you like, here's what you can do. And also, if you listen in, it has a mechanic, I guess, where like you listen into conversations to learn things about like, okay, here's ideas kind of what to do. Like if you want to do the ejector seat thing, you can listen into a conversation. They'll say like, oh, make sure you finish the safety procedures on the jet. It's on the clipboard over there. And then you go look at the clipboard, and it's like, oh, here's the little lady in your earpiece says like, ooh, we could use this to our advantage. Da, 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 da. And so it kind of hits you over the head. But I don't know if that's a tutorial thing or if that's how the main game's going to be. And I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that's a tutorial thing, or at the very least, that's like a normal difficulty thing, and you can bump up the difficulty and it won't do that kind of thing. I'm not sure, but yeah, you can drown people in toilets, which is pretty awesome. Like you get them. So I poisoned a guy's drink, and he's like, oh, my stomach, and he runs to the bathroom, and you walk into the bathroom behind him, and as he's throwing up in the toilet, you drown him, which was fun. So it's that kind of game. I liked it. $15 to try out that first big main mission, which is going to have a bunch of different ways to complete it. I feel like I don't feel like I'm going to be wasting my money, and I wanted to see how it played. So I'm glad that I had that option. I'm glad that they're doing that. I don't see why anyone would be really angry with this, because you can pay $60 and the game comes out in chunks, but you're still going to get the full game. Or if you don't like that and you want to just try the game out, $15. I don't see the problem.
What upsets people, I think it's valid. I didn't really get it either, but I think I changed my mind, because really, if a game comes out and it's done and they're asking $60 for it, then you can look at reviews, you can ask people you can look at footage of the game, and you can decide, okay, that looks great, or I want that, or no, I'm not interested. When it comes out in episodes, the first episode they can polish like a trailer. I mean, they can, whatever comes out with the game at first, they can make that really great and sell the game $60, and then they can relax because they've already sold the game and they don't really have any incentive to do more. And that's happened with basically every Telltale series except for the first season of The Walking Dead. Like, that inevitably happens. They're all like fine until episode 3 or so, and then they fall apart because nobody
I didn't know
cares.
That was an issue that Telltale games had.
Well, it's been my experience with episodic games too. I mean, even Life is Strange. Life is Strange was funny bad at first, and then it just got really boring at episode 3. I don't know. Well, I think that's the inflection point, that they release a great first episode, they get the buzz going for it, they release a good second episode, and then they capture the people that are were on the fence,
yeah.
And then there's nothing left to sweep up. I don't know.
I see that. I see that argument, and I can definitely see that happening. It's kind of the same as the Kickstarter thing that I hate so much, where it's like, they already have your money. What's the incentive to make a good game? But I'm also kind of split, because I probably, if the game was $60, I definitely wouldn't have pre-ordered it. God no. And I wouldn't have bought the game, at least for a very long time, unless people raved about it. But now I get to at least experience the game and see how I feel about it.
Yeah, buying one episode at a time.
So for me personally, I am glad they did it that way, because I feel like I've benefited from it, and I wouldn't have been able to experience the game if it was $60 flat out. But I see why it would annoy people. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I feel like with a game like this, even the later levels are already pretty close, not close to completion necessarily, but they're fleshed out, like they know how the game's going to go. So I don't know.
I guess Yeah, it's more of a gameplay game than a story thing.
Yeah, and I
So
feel like is Telltale's problem that they stop caring about the later episodes, or that they're bad at telling a story, and so their story falls apart halfway through, because that tends to be when stories fall apart. Like
maybe.
it would be really hard to say what the difference is, but it is definitely, especially in a company like Telltale, it's definitely to their interest to make the entire game good, because they want to make more games that people want to play. So, eh, eh. That you could put that you could apply that argument to Kickstarter too, though, and I don't trust Kickstarter games. So yeah, I see it both ways. Whatever. For me personally, I'm glad I could pay $15.
Yeah, I think being able to buy episodes individually solves the problem to some extent.
Yeah, you end up always paying more than you otherwise would, because there's always the bundle price or whatever. But again, like, you wait for an episode to come out, you see if people like it or not, then you decide whether you want to buy it. I don't know. I just don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah,
Bottom line.
even if it did, even if the quality did drop, it's still really not a big deal.
Yeah. So yeah, Hitman. I don't know. I think if people liked Blood Money, they're gonna like this one. That's my hunch. I've seen some footage of that first mission, which is like a fashion show thing. And you like kill the guy who's organizing the whole thing or something like that. And it looks like a very Hitman level, because you've got prestige and all these rich people and stuff, and levels of security, because like you're going backstage and you have to dress up as someone to get backstage, and then maybe you're going up to like the VIP area on the balcony on the second floor, and you have to dress up as a certain thing to do that. And so it that feels very Hitman. So I'm optimistic about it. I will say that. I'm not sure that where I am in my life right now as a person makes me want to play Hitman as much as I did when I was younger. But that's a personal problem, not a problem with the game. So, yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna play it. I've
That's
I've
fine.
never been into those games.
No, I mean, yeah,
nothing
I
I've seen has made me.
play Super
Perk
Hot
up.
instead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play Super Hot.
Yeah.
Now, what else is going on? Unless you had something more to say about Hitman.
I don't have anything else to say about Hitman.
XCOM 2. Did that?
I don't have anything else to say about XCOM 2 either.
I
I
haven't
heard
played
that
it.
I heard that it's I've heard a lot of I don't want to say mixed reactions. I'm hearing kind of the same thing from everyone that I've seen talk about it, which is, I like the game. It's like the first XCOM sequel, but it's bogged down by like a lot of technical issues and stuff. Apparently, it doesn't run very well. It has kind of ridiculous requirements, especially for a game that doesn't look particularly great. And I don't know. From what I've heard, it just seems like the game's a little bit incomplete. But I'm not going to buy XCOM 2 unless it's very much on sale, because, even then, I want to resist the urge, because again, I want to play the game, but I know that I would get so frustrated with it and would never complete it. I'm just again, that's a game that, it's not the game's fault, it's my fault. I'm not in a place in my life where I want to play XCOM.
God, you make it sound like taking up a vow or something. Like,
It's like I'm
not ready for that commitment.
It's not me, it's you.
There's lots of games like that where I feel like it's not the game.
It's not
just
the game's
me.
fault that you don't like it.
A lot of RTSs are that way for me. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
little bit of Age of Empires I played, the multiplayer, but I can't get into that game for very long.
RTSs is a really good example, because like I used to play a ton of those. Or I used to
Really?
Red Alert 2 was such an awesome game. I loved it. And I still have that urge to play RTSs, because I have that memory of loving it so much, but I
Now-
know that I'm not gonna, like, it's just not something that I can do anymore. Like,
Let's
I don't
go
feel
angry
attached to it.
video game nerd. Let's go back to the
boy.
past. Did you grow up on PC games? Like, when did you
Not
start?
really.
What did you have?
My first games that I was really playing a lot of were PlayStation 1 mostly. That was my
Okay.
console. And I had some PC games. Like, I played Myst at a very young age. Oh god, what else did I play? there were some PC games here and there that I got into, but for the most part, I was console only on PlayStation 1 and then Xbox. And I got a Nintendo 64 after like the next generation because I felt like I missed out on that. But
You got an N64 when the GameCube came out?
I think so. I think it might have been post GameCube.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I didn't want to pay for a GameCube. I think I had like money saved up for like Christmases or something like that, and I kind of had to make a choice,
Hmm.
and I knew that there were a bunch of games I wanted to play on the Nintendo 64. Like the Nintendo 64 had like this image in my
Library.
mind of like this, oh, it's something I've always wanted because all my friends had it and I didn't, and so I was missing out constantly on GoldenEye and Mario 64 and all that shit, and all my friends had it. So even if I was late, I had to get one. But yeah,
And now we live in the magic world of emulators.
yeah, I didn't really start playing PC games, I want to say, until Call of Duty might have been one of my first major, like Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty. Battlefield 1942, I played a lot of. The Sims 1, I think that was before those, and I played a lot of that. And Age of Empires, I think I played on the PC, but the Red Alert 2 I played on the PlayStation, which is a terrible playing experience. I don't recommend it to anyone, but that's all I knew. So yeah, that's my weird history of how I played games. What about you?
Uh, I grew up, like, the first console I played was my dad's NES, for years and years. And then when I got old enough, I got a Nintendo 64, and that was great.
Yeah.
I didn't really I played a couple PC games, but they weren't like PC games that real people play. They were like King's Quest 7,
Yeah.
or that's like the very silly one with like almost Disney drawings. But to be fair, I was like 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really play PC games until Team Fortress 2 on PC, because I got the orange box on Xbox 360
Oh no.
when it came out. And I was trying to play Team Fortress 2 online, and I liked it, but it just didn't work, you know?
Yeah.
And nobody was really playing it, and it just
They
felt
couldn't
really
patch
weird.
it, and then they
And
started
so I went
updating the PC
online.
version.
I went online to somebody complaining about the Xbox version of it, and then just everybody was telling, just play it on PC. Why the hell wouldn't you play it on PC? I'm like, okay. So I got it on PC, and it was great. It could run really fast on my shitty computer. It was buttery smooth, buttery, blistering, crispy, 60 frames per second. And then I kind of mostly played on PC after that. I
Yeah.
still will sit down at a console if there's like an exclusive that I really want to play, but I don't just kick back and pop on the Wii U or anything.
I had some really weird instances of playing games on the like objectively wrong platform. I played Counter-Strike.
Objectively wrong.
Yes, Counter-Strike on the Xbox.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I played Red Alert 2 on the PlayStation.
I had some super keep going, but I had some super weird version of a game that was a port on a console. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it's crazy the kinds of games that you can find on consoles. I had a friend who played Morrowind on the Xbox, and I had it on PC, and so that's when I realized, like, oh shit, PC is where it's at, because I had the console commands and the mods and all that shit.
That
and my
was
friend,
the
that
best.
same friend, ironically, is the one that introduced me to modding as a concept, because he played The Sims 1 and would download like items and stuff. Like you can get a new couch or whatever you want and just drag it into the folder and it's ready to go.
It wasn't Team Fortress 2. It was Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
Half-Life 2. That was the big one.
Yeah, I had a friend who got Half-Life. Who got the orange box on the Xbox when I got it on PC, and that was unfortunate for him because I was raving about the game constantly. I loved Team Fortress 2, loved it, and
we've talked about
I was
this
talking about
before.
those updates.
It was so good.
Yeah, I was talking about the orange box. Like that was monumental. That's one of the biggest game releases of all time.
Yeah.
That has
a new
amazing
Half-Life
shit on it.
episode, Portal, and Team Fortress 2 all together.
That was three of the best games of all time. Yeah, that was a huge. And so I was talking about like all the updates and stuff. Like when they first came out with, I think the first update was like, was it a soldier update or a medic update or something?
The
But
first
they,
update was the medic update.
I think it was, yeah, and I was talking about how exciting it was to like, oh my god, we've been playing this game for so long, and suddenly they're introducing like this new
Yeah.
weapon that changes everything. It's so different now, and he couldn't get any of the updates or anything, and he was still dealing with. I don't remember any of the particular glitches, but he was still dealing with glitches and stuff that got patched out way early on the PC release, and they just completely gave up
Oh,
on
yeah.
the Xbox because
They did.
Microsoft apparently was not supportive with that.
For a long time,
this system.
the demo man. You know how like the demo man originally had 6 shots in his gun,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you can still see it on the model of the gun.
Yeah.
There's 6 barrels that rotate around, but there's only 4 shots that come out of it. That I don't know if they ever patched it. They probably did eventually. I think there was like 1 or 2 updates
I'm not sure
over
they
the
did.
history. Maybe not, but if I remember the story right, it's because Microsoft was all about DLC packs, map packs. That was like the microtransaction apex.
Someone mentioned RuneScape. In
That was
chat.
the age of RuneScape. I never actually got into RuneScape.
I did.
It looked like shit,
Oh,
When
it
I
was
saw
so
it-
bad.
and I tried it and it sucked. And fuck RuneScape.
So everyone,
It's boring.
for some reason, I guess RuneScape didn't get popular until its first major update, where it went from like this weird 2D kind of style to a 3D thing, like a big major update. I thought it was popular before then, and everyone like talks nostalgically about like, oh, RuneScape was so great, but they're talking about that post update, and that's actually when I kind of stopped playing. Before then, if you're a real '90s gamer, before then, this was actually after the '90s, I think, but originally RuneScape was like 2D, and your character was just like there were 4 positions you could be facing straight towards the camera or the side or behind, and it looked awful. Fucking, I mean, it looks bad now, but it looked terrible. If you look up like original RuneScape and look at the 2D stuff, it looked so bad. But that's when I loved it, because for me and for probably a ton of people, it was my first even taste of anything like an MMO, and so being in this big world with a bunch of other players and stuff was mind blowing. I was
That's true.
fascinated by
I
it.
could see that it
Yeah.
being your first MMO or something.
Yeah.
My first MMO was World of Warcraft. I played it for like a couple months. So RuneScape kind of looked like and was ass in comparison. But
Yeah, World of Warcraft to me was like, oh, remember how great RuneScape was, and when we used to play RuneScape, wasn't that fun? Here's World of Warcraft, and it's like that but good. So World of Warcraft also blew my mind. I thought it was the best thing ever. Making the
you're-
original.
You're what, 3-4 years older than me? I think
I'm
that was
24.
about
I'll be 25 in like a month.
okay, so 4 roughly.
And
So that was about the time span of those waves, I think.
Yeah. So, World of Warcraft, I had a friend who was just hyperbolic about everything, and he would describe to me like, "Oh man, I saw this and this and this happen in the game, and like I can kind of see what he saw, but it wasn't really what he's describing."
Yeah.
Like he says he saw someone
Nothing
get
cool happened.
yeah,
in
like
that game.
there were like
Let's be
Taurens or orcs or something. Their original mount was like this huge like lizard thing or something. Like it was really big. And he said he saw like a little gnome get run over by the thing and
Okay.
squashed and killed. And it's like, no, that didn't happen. But I see what you're saying, but no.
Those stories
didn't
were always
matter.
the best
Yeah,
to swap.
yeah.
Just the
The
completely made up
embellishments.
bullshit that is definitely not true.
Yeah.
Especially Pokemon stuff.
Oh my god! I remember
Everybody
that
had
shit.
their own
those
bullshit
kinds of
about
games,
Pokemon.
like those like 2D RPGs, the mythology that people had in their minds of like what those games were, as opposed to what they actually were, was so black and like. People
And that's
would
why-
say things about those kinds of games that are just ridiculous, and
That's-
everyone believed it.
That's why even when people talk about the Pokemon theories, like oh Mew's under the truck stuff, it doesn't feel true to
That
the
particular
myths
aspect,
that we actually talked
Yeah.
about. Because the myths we actually talked about were not plausible in the slightest.
but
Like,
we believed them.
oh yeah. Well, or we pretended to do it too.
Yeah, but like the old shit. So when I first started playing San Andreas, I genuinely believed that there was like a Bigfoot in the woods and ghosts and stuff like that
Oh,
put into the game, and there was like a huge online community about like trying to find these hidden things.
At
And
that time, that would have been cool.
it would have been cool, and it's not completely implausible. Obviously, like they could easily put those in the game, and they
Right.
ended up putting those in like Grand Theft Auto 5, for example. But
Did they?
the magic of that kind of feeling of like nobody really knows whether they're in the game or not, and people say like, "Oh, I saw it," and then people are like forging screenshots of the game and stuff. Um,
Wait,
that's
back up.
completely.
Did you said they did put it in GTA 5? What?
They
I don't
put.
think they did. They
I don't
put
know.
like a cryptic thing that
don't
actually
know
didn't
if-
mean anything. But
I don't know if Bigfoot's in GTA 5, but they put a ghost in GTA 5.
really,
Yeah, like it only shows up in like a certain hill at a certain time, and it's actually like genuinely creepy. You can look up a video of it.
okay.
But
That's
anyway,
cool.
and it doesn't like relate to anything. Like there's no story. It's not like a mission or anything like that. It's just like if you look in the right place at the right time, there it is. They also put a UFO in there. That was a big theory in San Andreas. Like, is there a UFO? And so yeah, that stuff's not implausible completely, but there was a magic to it of like nobody actually knows whether these things exist or not, and a lot of people have fun looking for them. And now that magic is completely gone because people can so easily go into the code and like find things
Right.
for sure. And I guess technically they could then, but it wasn't. It's like it wasn't so common that people just didn't do it, and or you didn't know about it. And that's something that I genuinely miss about. Like every game felt like it had things that I just didn't know about that I hadn't discovered. And now
That's
it's
true.
the opposite of that. Now it's like, oh, I know everything there
miss
is to
that.
know about that game. Everything interesting to know about this game, I
That-
know in the first week of playing it.
Is why, in part, I am enjoying Earthbound so much
Sure.
because I've had stuff, bits and pieces spoiled over the years, but nothing's too concrete, and it's all about the little stuff, and I don't know any of that. And sometimes you'll just stumble on something, and you're like, "Oh my god, I had no idea this game could do this or
Yeah.
would dare to."
That's how Morrowind was for me. That's part of why that's one of my favorite games of all time, or perhaps my favorite game of all time, is that it was I was playing it before the internet was so mainstream that everything cool that could happen in the game was just instantly posted online and everyone knew about. Like now, if if Fallout 4 comes out, you see all the cool shit that happens in Fallout 4 posted on message boards and stuff like that. Like you're gonna see that game through osmosis no matter what, and you're
Yeah.
gonna see the coolest parts of it no matter what. And
Does that
or
game
at
really
least you're
have
e-
any cool parts?
I don't know, but at least you're easily able to find that stuff when otherwise it would just be kind of like you find that stuff on your own, and that's so much, that discovery is so much cooler. And yeah, you can go out of your way to avoid spoilers and stuff, but there's just the magic is gone. And that's whatever. That's a price you pay for the internet, which is a really great thing. But
When
it does
Oblivion came out,
make me sad sometimes.
which was my first like 3D big RPG game, I was like 12, and that was another game. I had that for the Xbox 360, and we talked about it on message boards,
Hmm.
and even like the nature of that, the structure of a message board means that you're not gonna see all of it
Yeah,
because it's these long threads that go
Yeah.
on and on
you see 10
about
posts
one
per page.
thing.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of text, and screen capture wasn't too easy. And yeah, it was a different time. Wow, we're so old, aren't we, huh? Wow.
yeah, so
Huh.
old.
Wow, how about that, huh?
But yeah, it really was a different time. It was a different thing that I'm sad that people who are younger won't actually be able to experience. Like, there is a wonderment to like when a game would come out and nobody knew anything about it, and you're finding things out about it, and you feel like you're, even though you know you're not the first to discover you feel like you are, because it's
You feel
not
like
so
you're part of
easily
a
attainable.
small group.
Yeah, it feels like you're in on something.
Now, even when you don't know, when you deliberately block yourself off, you kind of, you know that everyone else is streaming this right
It's
now.
just-
This
yeah,
very
it's
moment,
just so-
someone else is on Twitch right now
Yeah.
doing the same.
It's so out there. It's so easy to find that stuff that even though before you knew it, it's not not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nostalgia. Us 90s kids. Why do I keep
kids.
saying 90 kids?
The 90 kids coming.
Okay, I gotta ask you a question that's completely not video game related.
Okay.
On Facebook, I had someone share an image about 90s kids. and it said
I don't like the way
90s.
this is starting.
It had a picture
On
of
Facebook, I saw someone share an
yes.
image about 90s kids. It's fine. Continue.
It had a picture of a so you know those green power boxes that you find in neighborhoods that are like
Yes.
every 4 houses there'll be like a
Like
green box.
Transformer boxes?
Yeah. It was a picture of one of those,
Uh-huh.
and it said the caption was "90s kids hangout spot," and I couldn't figure out if that was a thing or not, and people weren't like sharing it ironically. This is Facebook. This is like
okay, was this one of those like shared a million times things?
it was a lot of people liked it and commented and shared it, and I couldn't figure it out because that seemed like something that first of all shouldn't at all be exclusive to 90s kids, but also something that doesn't make any sense. But then I mentioned it in my chat while I was playing Super Hot, and someone said, "Oh yeah, we used to hang out at one of those," and so apparently it's a thing.
I never
And
did
I have
that.
to know if you'd heard of that.
Never. Never. I just used that thing to sit on while my dad made me do yard work. And he was doing something, and I got like a moment to sit down.
Yeah.
I sat on the electrical thing and felt the waves through my bones.
That's when you discovered something new about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Then the
I had to ask.
mutations started.
It's been it's been bothering me for a couple
Yeah,
days now.
that I don't know. How many people are here? Few, but do you?
I
remember
haven't seen
anything
anyone
like
else
this?
say anything about it. But these are all children. These are all 2000s
At like an
kids.
electrical box, at a transformer box, like a big
Yeah. They're like 4 feet by 4
Box.
feet boxes. Yeah.
the metal box, usually green, and
It
it
doesn't
has
make
all
any
kinds
sense.
of warning labels that this thing will fucking kill you if you
Yeah.
look at it the wrong way. Please don't stand near it.
I
Don't
used to
hang
be-
out at this thing.
I used to be scared of them. Like, I don't want to touch that. What if it kills me? And it would like buzz too. Like it sits there and
Oh
buzzes.
yeah. I thought that the you know how some telephone poles are supported with steel cables?
Yeah. I was the
I
same way.
thought that those were like
Well, they wrap
exposed
the plastic
electrical
around the
wires.
bottom of them, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, that's because they don't want you grabbing them because they're electric."
Yeah. That would be a very unsafe world.
Yes, it would be. As a kid, like the world seems so much scarier than it actually is. But then also, there's certain things that you don't know as a kid
Yeah.
that you do know as an adult that is much scarier. But still, this is Nostalgia Cast, episode 65.
Nostalgia
The nostalgia.
enjoyed only by 90
It's
kids.
a nostalgia episode for 90s kids only.
90
We're
kids.
gonna put a password that you can't listen to this episode unless you answer something that only 90s
Question
kids will
about
know.
Ren and Stimpy. I never watched Ren and Stimpy.
Saw a few episodes maybe.
I was all about there was Ed and Eddie. That was my favorite show.
I wasn't a Cartoon Network kid. I was a Nickelodeon kid, so
Well,
I didn't really.
okay.
I watched some of the Cartoon Network shows, but not much of them.
You can have love for both.
It was yeah, you can. It was Hey Arnold,
And
Rugrats.
diversify.
I want to say Cat Dog was a Nickelodeon thing. A lot of weird shit.
Oh shit! Somebody just said Nostalgia Critic. I remember watching his videos when I was 13 years old. And
Was he around when you were 13?
yeah,
Is he that old? I thought he was like a
Yes.
last 5 years
it
kind of
is
thing.
no. His videos weren't on YouTube for the longest time. You could only see them on his shitty website,
He was underground.
that guy with the glasses.com. And yeah, it might have been 13 or 14. I think it was 13. But I watched one of his more recent videos, and it was exactly the same as I remember.
Yikes.
But that was really sad. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, he looks 10 years older, and he's doing the same thing. It's
Hey, he's making money, man. Gotta make a living.
And then just the sadness of everything on Channel Awesome, that network he tried to create, of dozens of terrible imitators of like the angry video game nerd and himself, all like under this one umbrella, and nobody really watched them, but they were all really passionate about it and made content all the time that no one watched. And oh man,
Well, good for them. I mean, we make content that
that's where
nobody
Angry
watches.
Joe came from, though. Angry Joe used to be under Nostalgia Critic as part of that, and
Oh,
then
man.
PewDiePie hit the scene, and then like
The
a flash bomb.
video game YouTube community, well, the YouTube community in general, really, but internet's a rough place. All right, we haven't talked about gaming news.
There's
at least one story that I want to mention.
Okay.
Hold on.
Spoonie.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me make sure I've got this.
He was one of them.
I've got this accurate before I start spewing bullshit. Okay. Do you remember
that site's gone? What?
What site?
The site is gone?
For
no, it's not. You fucking liar. Anyway, say what you're saying.
Do you remember former state senator Leland Yee?
No.
He was a
state senator Leland Yee.
He was a state senator who was his biggest platforms, or his most public platforms, were violent video games. He didn't like those, and he wanted to get rid of them. And guns. He wanted to get rid of them. No more guns. And then it came out that he was actually involved in a gun smuggling ring.
Oh. That's...
And he told some undercover FBI agents that he could get them some guns from the Philippines. Anyway, the only reason it's video game news is because he was like one of those major anti-video game people. And so when this came out, like, video game people made fun of him. He has been sentenced to 5 years in prison, I think. And man, I was kind of browsing through the stuff that he's done, his like the statement of his case and everything, and there's some shit in there, man. This guy.
I'm reading some of it.
It's just interesting.
It sounds like stuff that it wouldn't be real.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of a TV show. He's like dealing with Russian mobsters and shit. It's pretty great. So that's video game news, I guess. I don't know if I have anything else.
Oh, yeah, that was another Hap. Hunter, we just mentioned it. Flimsy posted his Undertale review thing. It's an hour long. I
haven't seen it yet.
I'm like 46 minutes or so into it.
Is it actually an hour long?
Yeah.
My God, Flimsy.
I read most of it, but it's kind of funny. Like there's a couple moments where you can hear him say something and then stop and the recording starts again.
Oh,
just because for a video that long.
Oh yeah, you gotta forget about the details.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to.
Otherwise you go crazy.
Yeah. God. Well, good for him. I'm definitely gonna. I want to see what his opinions are.
The good thing about that video, he explains in the first couple of minutes of it, which is that basically every treatment of the game, reviews and things, they pay lip service to the pacifist gameplay. They talk about the humor and the charm and the music, and there's a genocide route, and it's a blast. Give it a go. And not many people have tried to break down what's working and what's not working. There's some pretty good critiques of like the pacifist and neutral runs where like in a lot of ways they aren't all that great. I mean, I think so. They were fun, they were really entertaining, but there's not a lot of like compelling content there really.
Sure.
I didn't really have a motivation to play the pacifist mode again or anything, or even the genocide, but
there's not a lot of branching stuff. It's just kind of here's the story.
Yeah. So good video so far. I'm gonna finish it. But...
Yeah, I'd like to see some criticism of it because everyone was so high on it when it came out, and I mean, deservedly so. It was very good, but
the devil's game. In the details with that game.
Yeah, and it can.
Not that there's really a devil. It's not that bad. In any way.
And there were like for me in particular, I didn't love the game. Like it wasn't like my favorite game of that year or anything. And I felt like I was still really high on it. I still liked it a lot. But I kind of felt like I was just I felt like I was bashing the game when I would talk about it with people who really liked it, because it was like,
yeah.
well, yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it, and there were some things that were really fantastic about it that I loved. Like Mettaton was like the best thing ever. But
Mettaton's great.
But yeah, I never really even had the chance to put my thoughts together with that game, because last year was so fucking crazy and I was constantly moving on to the next thing. But yeah, I was stuck on the gameplay the most, but there's some other things about it that just like that game deserves some in-depth criticism, Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we need to nitpick apart the things that are bad about it, but talk about it in more depth than this was an awesome game and this is what's so awesome about it. Kind of dig into it, because it does deserve it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We need to get him on the podcast.
And you know what? I kind of want to do some kind of Earthbound video.
Oh my god.
Like a big Earthbound video.
You should.
I hate talking about this game because I know people don't want to hear me talk about it.
Well, the great thing about a video is, or anything that you make, is that they don't have to.
No, I mean right now.
On the podcast.
Right. Because I've already said that I love it, and there's not much more to say. But
yeah.
God, I really do. It's great.
I believe you. It's kind of like how I want to rave more about Super Hot and wrestling, but I'm not going to. I could rave all day about. I'm every week I'm loving wrestling.
I saw that tweet where you're pondering.
Which one? Oh yeah,
some wrestling content.
I was thinking about like it would be fun to like write up a quick thing every week about like something I enjoyed. I'm watching 3 wrestling shows a week now. I'm watching.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm watching Monday Night Raw.
I already knew that, but I guess
I'm watching Monday Night Raw and NXT, which is the developmental league for the WWE, and Lucha Underground. Now, to be fair, NXT and Lucha Underground are only an hour long, so it's not like the biggest time sink in the world or anything. But yeah, it's a lot of wrestling, and I'm actually really enjoying it, which is kind of like over the weekend they had a pay-per-view and it was terrible. If you remember when I first started talking about wrestling, Roman Reigns had won the Royal Rumble, and everyone hated him, and everyone booed him, but he was supposed to be like the big hero that everyone liked. And so that's what kind of got me into it, because I was fascinated by like, okay, they're pushing this guy as if he's a hero, but everyone hates him.
How did that pan out?
Well, we're here a year later, and guess what happened? He didn't win the Royal Rumble, but he's gonna be fighting for the championship in the main event of WrestleMania for the second year in a row. Same guy, same booze, same bullshit, like literally the same thing again. So it's just it's weird, and so I was like really down on it because it was.
Is that what kind of pushed you to pick up these other wrestling shows?
No, I just heard they were really good and started watching them. But yeah, I wasn't enjoying the WWE stuff all that much, because it really is mostly bad.
Vince, if you're listening,
you've lost me, man.
Come on,
but
get it together.
Get it together, Vince. No, but here's the thing that the WWE does. They make really, really bad shit for a long time, and just when you're like ready to just say like fuck it, I'm done,
they do something great.
They do one thing that redeems it, just enough for you to be like, fuck, I have to keep watching. So over the weekend they had the pay-per-view, they had Roman Reigns win, and so he was going to the main event of WrestleMania, and everyone knew it was going to happen, but everyone hoped it wasn't going to happen, and it did anyway, and everyone was pissed off, including me, and I was just like, fuck this, wrestling sucks, this sucks.
You know what I want to do? I want to try to reconstruct a season's worth of wrestling storylines just from what you describe.
I could go into depth and we could do something like that.
No, I don't want you
to.
But
yeah,
like just the little bits I hear, I want to assemble into.
That might be the best way to absorb wrestling, is little bits at a time.
That's all I need, really.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna give it a go once, like with a full length.
WrestleMania is going to be WrestleMania could actually be really cool and really great. So maybe we should try it. But anyway,
yeah, I would. It might be fun to watch that together.
Yeah,
unless
we'll
you're
see.
watching it with someone real.
No, I'm
Because
not. I don't know anyone
I
who
don't
watches
think it would
wrestling.
be entertaining to watch like alone at my computer.
Yeah, no.
I don't
Especially
think.
not no. If you're watching it for the first time, you need to watch it with someone, or at the
Okay.
very least, like there's live stream places where they'll have a live chat next to it, where everyone like talks about it and stuff, and that can be enough to like just watch the chat and see people talking about it. Can be like enough. Like you don't
Oh,
want
right,
to just
right.
be fully engaged with wrestling.
Like a
Like
Twitch
I've said
chat.
this over and over. You just don't want to just watch wrestling. It's too much. But anyway, so I was down on the pay per view because fucking Roman Reigns won. The next night, so they do the pay per views on Sunday night, and then they have another Raw the next night. Fucking Shane McMahon, which is Vince McMahon's son, who used to do these crazy shit like jump off of the top of the Titantron like 40 feet to elbow someone through a wooden floor. This motherfucker has been gone for like half a decade or more, and he returns out of nowhere, and it's just like this really big deal. And then he's like, he literally, so he returns, and there's Vince and him, and they're talking to each other, and he's talking about how terrible WWE has been. He's like, you're losing money, your stock price is down, your viewership is down, and I want to take control of Monday Night Raw. And everyone's freaking out, like in the crowd, like, holy shit, this is what we want. Like everyone's fucking freaking out. And what they're gonna do is probably pull a fast one on us, and it's not going to lead anywhere, most likely. But you have to keep watching now. You
When
have
did
to
this
keep
happen?
fucking watching
When
to
did this
find out what
happen?
happens.
I'm curious.
Monday night.
Monday night. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the.
It was a big deal.
I'm looking at the 5-day stocks. That is really funny.
Well,
you can see where it changes.
Yeah, well, sure. Because people react. Investors react to like, well, maybe they're going somewhere with this, and maybe they can get more viewership with this, and like, so anyway, yeah, that was a huge deal, and so now you have to keep watching it, even though you know it's going to get shit again, because it always does.
It's just like,
it's hard to
I
understand.
get it.
I know.
I think I get it, but I still. There are a few things that are so flagrantly, proudly
Stupid.
artificial and dumb.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well,
just that they bother to do this, because it's like if someone did a magic show today. You know how, remember back in like the 20s when you were there, you 90 kid.
Back in my day.
You 90s, Yanni, you're fucking whatever. In your day, when they had a magic show, like in the 20s, and they would have the magician actually do tricks, and then people would be fooled, and it was a thing. It kind of feels that way, where you know that it's not real, but you still buy into it with...
Yeah, that's a great analogy, because like back in the day, like the real old day, there were... I still think probably at least half of the fan base knew it was completely fake. But there were people who at least believed a portion of it was real, and they just kind of fell for it. And that was like back like before it was widely televised and stuff. But then like once at the point where it started getting popular, people at least acted like it was real, even though most people knew it wasn't. And now nobody thinks it's real. You can't possibly think it's real if you watch it.
And it's pretty easy to explain.
Yeah.
That it's not real, but they have to treat it as real, because if they don't, it's not fun.
But it's kind of hard to explain how that makes it enjoyable, because people say like, well, it's not real, so why is it fun? Well, TV's not real, and it's like a soap opera almost. Yeah,
but
kind
like
of
athletic.
And it's and everyone appreciates it for different reasons. Like the athletic, some people are like so into the athletic stuff that they couldn't care less if there's a storyline. Yeah, like holy shit, that spot was amazing. And then some people,
spot?
Oh yeah, it's a spot. If you yeah, it's a spot.
Okay.
And then some people love the storyline and couldn't care less about what's happening in the actual ring. It's just like who wins, who loses, that kind of thing. But it all comes together, there's so many different elements that have to come together to actually make like a really good match or a good show. And that's what I like. I like seeing all the elements come together in the right way and pay off. And what makes WWE horribly addicting is that most of the time they fail at that. most of the time. And then when they do it correctly, it's glorious. It's amazing. It's wonderful because you're so used to it being terrible. And so it's like it has to be bad most of the time for you to appreciate the good almost. But then there's other shows like Lucha Underground, which I've talked a little bit about. That show is way more consistently good. It's very rarely bad. But it's such a different thing because they're actually filming segments like a TV show. And the storylines, I mean, they've gotten even more ridiculous since last time I talked about it. I think the last time I talked about the time traveler who had to travel to the future to reunite the 7 tribes. There's also
otherwise he dies, right?
I don't know what happens.
Like the world ends, right?
I don't know. It's very vague. But there's another guy who he's an actual dragon. Like he literally breathes fire. It's a ridiculous show, and they go so far in, like, they totally embrace how stupid wrestling is and make it into, they take it 100% seriously, but they also just go 100% into the ridiculous side of things, and it makes it super enjoyable. And some people hate it. Some people think it's the worst thing ever, that it's like a disgrace because they're not taking it seriously enough, you know? But I like it, and it seems like most people like it. But yeah, I'm a man child. It's true. I'm sorry.
Just like Max Landis. Was that a reference to something?
Young Bucks. Yeah, it is a reference. I'm not even going to explain it.
Please do. I'm going to actually feel bad about this.
I already explained in the Japanese wrestling. In Japanese wrestling, you've got the American wrestlers who come in and they break the rules and stuff, and everyone hates them. And that's what the Young Bucks are a tag team in the Japanese. Okay. And the commentators got mad at them one day, and there's just a video where the commentators are going, "Young Bucks, go home, please go home." They're like freaking out, and it's very funny. I'm sorry, everyone, for talking about wrestling again. Well, but wrestling's really great. I have to say it. It's fun. It's really fun. Sorry.
Yeah, it sounds that way. I'll watch WrestleMania. Yeah, WrestleMania.
WrestleMania could be a pretty good game.
That'll be the horror themed Lucha Underground.
There should be more wrestling games. There really should be, because wrestling's perfect for video games. Especially like Lucha Underground should be made into a game where like you've got all these ridiculous characters and like make it a Street Fighter game. You can tell that the people who are writing Lucha Underground have played Street Fighter.
Be like a Street Fighter fighting game.
Yeah, they've played Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. They know their shit, because like sometimes there are things that seem like direct references to things like right now the championship belt holder is sitting on a throne next to the ring watching the people fight for him, and it's like, okay, this is very clearly it's fucking Mortal Kombat. And no, I haven't played Lisa yet, and I'm going to soon. I was actually planning on playing it today, but then I found that Super Hot was out, so I played that instead. But yeah, wrestling, man, it's just, that's part of the reason I want to make content about it, is like to try to explain why I like it.
Just do it.
I will probably, maybe. I never make promises with writing things or making videos.
You heard it here first, folks. Skippy has promised to deliver weekly wrestling content to the fans.
Yeah, to pushashout.net, which is now a video game wrestling collaboration website.
Yes. Oh, and there was an issue with iTunes pushing podcasts to iTunes, so I'll take a look at that sometime.
Yeah, because it should be uploaded correctly. The website is up to date. It's got a brand new template. It looks good. It works good. You should check it out.
Yeah, I think it's more pleasant than usable, personally. Anyway, that's this week, folks. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We love you like family. Maybe more than that, if you want. Good night.
Good night.